Welcome to EFT MBA Mastering Business Acumen with the help of EFT business experts. Learn the marketing, mindset, and skill set you need to create the EFT coaching practice of your dreams. Visit www.eftmba.com for more information. And now, here's the EFT training team that embodies the art and science of EFT. Alina Frank and Dr. Craig Weiner.
Hello and welcome to EFT MBA, the art and science of changing the world and making a nice living. I'm Alina Frank and I'm here with my partner,
Dr. Craig Weiner.
So, Craig, we thought that we would do a show on running a webinar. But I think before we start that, we have to start with what is a webinar and why anyone would want to do this. So let's start with a definition.
Sure. What is it exactly?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we hear the word a lot, but I think we're going to do a little bit of clarification. And you know what? This is one of the words that gets used so frequently now that I realized I didn't know what it actually stood for.
Mm-hmm.
So webinar is basically a web-based seminar.
Okay.
Duh. I mean, but but there are a lot of words that are used for these kind of classes that are being done. So a few distinctions. So a webinar basically is an online event that is broadcast by a person or a school or an organization, and it's broadcast to a select group of individuals through the computer via the internet. Webinar can also be referred to sometimes as an online event, a web seminar. It's even often used as a webcast when it's used as a just broadcasting of information, whereas a webinar tends to be interactive. Okay,
webinar tends to be interactive versus a webcast.
Yeah.
I got it, but I think that you could actually have a webinar that isn't interactive.
Right. So these are words that are used loosely, but just I think it helps give a little bit of a reference.
Right.
So basically what it does is it's an online classroom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it allows the teacher or the speaker to basically share information verbally, right? It allows them to share visually as well, their PowerPoint presentation or a video or a web page or any other kind of multimedia content with the audience that's listening, and guess where that audience can be?
Anywhere.
Yeah. Anywhere around the world. So this is like a worldwide classroom, right?
Right. So I guess the difference then between a telesummit or a teleclass or a some other thing is a telecast. I mean, we could do it as a telecast. So the difference is, one, that this is available on the web as well instead of just on the phone, except they have teleconferences and teleclasses that you can do either by on the phone or on the web nowadays. But it also, when we talk about webinar, we really include this added bonus element of having visual content that makes it more rich, more engaging. People tend to pay attention more when they're able to see visual things, especially if they're visual learners.
Absolutely, and I certainly know that that's true for me. So webinars have both audio and visual components, a combination. The visual part of the webinar uses some sort of video conferencing, web conferencing, software tool or platform or browser to allow that process to happen, right? You have to have some mechanism by which you're having your audience be able to hear and listen to you that's set up via software program.
So hold on. So a webinar isn't a brand name. It's like, it's not Coca-Cola is the webinar.
No, it's a soda.
It's a brand. Yeah, so it's a soda, right? So we can have webinars from all of these different companies, and every day a new one seems to be birthed. And
kind of like soda.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there are all these different varieties. Each one offers a slightly different variation on what they offer, their capabilities, their capacity of how many people they'll hold. All of that depends on the different providers, webinar providers. And we're not going to go into that. We can just tell you that we've tried so many. Currently, we're using 2 different ones that we highly recommend. But I think it's also a matter of at what level you feel most comfortable at. So if you're just starting out with this, I actually recommend that you don't even do webinars. I recommend that you start with a teleclass. Or a telecast or a telesomething, so that you get comfortable pushing buttons and talking and chewing gum at the same time. It's like you need those steps to get you there. But if you've done a class and you've run a conference on the phone,
you're used to hitting the record button before the class starts and not after. Everybody raise their hands or who's messed up on that one.
Definitely.
I have. Or you've hit mute instead of unmute and you forget star what. I mean, all those things are just part of the process of getting used to it.
Right. So if you've mastered that, then you should go ahead and just play with different providers and platforms out there. All of them give you some kind of free period of time to use it. So go in, see which one feels user-friendly to you. I will say that there are some now that are offering the experience for the end user. That means your client or the customer, the person that's engaging and buying this class from you, or if you're giving it away. They're the ones that I find to be most easy are the ones now that are enabling the person on the other end to be able to use it without having to download software onto their computers, because that's when it gets really sticky. Like, I have a Mac and it's running on this operating system, and the next person has a Windows and it's Windows 10 or it's Windows 7, and the software doesn't download properly, or you have some kind of virus protection or something. It just has all of these different ways that it can be a total nightmare for the person trying to use this, and you want it to be as easy as possible. So, or else you're going to be bombarded with all kinds of questions. I mean, Craig, you know that, right?
I do.
Yeah. So the day of the class that you're going to get, if you don't make it easier for the end user, then you're going to be bombarded with, I can't get in, or I can't access it, or I can't see, or I can't hear what's being presented. So find the ones nowadays that have no software for the end user needing to be downloaded.
Yep. And a few of the things that I just wanted to say in clarification before we move on to some more of the questions were, remember too that for most of these platforms, they're watching the webinar on their computer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're listening either through the speakers on their computer, or via the telephone. They can call in, so they've got the option as well.
Some of them, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's another piece that sometimes gets people a little bit hung up. And another thing that I want to say too with these, especially if it's the web telecast, but really even if it's just Q&A at the end, that if you're a little bit nervous or new to this, you can pre-record for most of the programs. You can either have it live, or you can pre-record it and then hit play and then jump on and do, for example, Q&A afterwards live.
Right. That's
so
right.
that's one way to also minimize some of the palpable nervousness, anxiety issues.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Sure. And we'd also say that something else to do that we recommend is to write down all the steps that you're going through, and print out your instructions for the webinar, because you're live, you're wanting it to go smoothly, and all of a sudden you realize you can't launch a poll or a survey, or someone's asking you a message in the chat room and you don't know how you can go there to answer it. So we recommend having the steps, like this is step 1. When I get in there, first thing I need to do is start broadcast, push play, or whatever the instructions are. Just print them out so that you have them next to you. And we also recommend that you do rehearsals. You absolutely need to do rehearsals with these things. Get a friend on and spend 5 minutes just test driving the system before you do it live.
Can you highlight that?
Yeah, underscore.
Yellow marker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
All right, so why overcome all this stuff that we're telling you could go wrong? Why try to learn this thing? Why do a webinar in the first place?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of good reasons, and I'd say the number one reason is because it expands the classroom across the entire world. So your potential listeners is huge, and whether you're trying to grow your list, whether you're charging for the webinar, whatever the purpose of what you're trying to achieve, you now have an unlimited capacity. And by doing that, you're not having to go into the hotel room or the senior center or the classroom and set up the chairs and set up the tables and set up all the things that you have to do in person that take all that energy and work. You're literally sitting in, don't tell anybody, maybe even your pajamas, and you're doing it from home, and that allows you to reach a much wider audience. And that's just, I think, the number one biggest thing that you can do is expand who you're reaching by doing it that way.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that you also this also sets you apart from your competitor if you are people want to get to know you before let's say they buy a high ticket item or private sessions or a coaching package or take some live event from you where they're going to be shelling out lots of money. I think it's a nice first step for people to get acquainted with you and the work that you do. And so whether, like Craig said, whether you send this off to do this as an offering, as a one-time free class, or whether you do this as a paid series that you do one or many that you charge for, I think it's very inexpensive.
You know, I mean, for example, when we launch twice a year the 6-month MBA program.
Right.
Right before that, we do either a teleconference or a webinar right before.
Yep.
And it's free, and it's a way for people to get a sense of us.
Right.
You know, you may not be ready to take on a radio show.
That's right.
Like we are in our podcast, and here's a one-time effort. It's tight. It's consolidated. You can do it, and it's done, and that really is useful.
Yeah. So before you even decide to do the research or try to figure out the tech stuff, or we'll get into how to promote it in a little bit, before you do any of that, we suggest that you do one thing. What is that one thing?
We suggest that you make sure that you target your niche. Sorry, my mind went to like 3 things, right? But number one is, who is your audience?
Yes.
Who's your niche?
Yes.
Who are you trying to reach?
Yes.
Get clear on that.
Yes. And you know that is the drum that we are beating on the EFT MBA program. We just don't know anyone out there making it, and I mean really making it, thriving, and a 6-figure a year practice unless they've got the niche down. So before you go out there and say, I'm going to do an EFT webinar and get a few people interested or lots of people interested in your free webinar and then get no one signing up because there's all this free material out there, we recommend that you highly, highly target your audience and figure this out, and then you can easily promote. You know the channels to go into to do that, and it becomes a way for you to further establish your expertise, to establish yourself as the go-to person in that particular area.
Sure. You know, I was just thinking the example of Suzanne and I right now. Our niche is working with tapping professionals that are trying to deepen their understanding of trauma.
Yeah.
And what we as we sat with that, we did that the first time, we really saw how many of them were professionals and looking, for example, for continuing ed credits.
Right.
So we went through the effort to really apply for CEs, and now we're going to be working on next month as a webinar targeted right for that audience, for tapping practitioners that are looking for CEs and that want to work with deeper understanding of trauma.
Sure.
And so that tightening of that niche is really going to help us maybe not reach everybody in the world, but I tell you, that tight niche has the people that want to participate are the ones that really want to participate and be involved.
Right.
And that's really important.
Cool.
So let's see. So what else?
So what are the advantages of offering a webinar that you're charging for? So we've done both. We've done freebies and we've done paid ones, and I'm about to start one next week. Holy cow! Yeah, next week we're going to do the manifestation wheel. It's one that we do only once a year, and it's about creating your intention and setting the course for the new year. And
which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. And we decided that we wanted to do this we wanted to do it on webinar. Why? Because first we offered it as a webinar, then we offered it as a live course. And this year, quite frankly, our teaching and our coaching schedule is so full that we couldn't fit it in. So another advantage of doing it webinar versus live is that you have the ability to have lots of flexibility. And so people can listen live, they can listen to the recording if you offer them the recording. And in this paid class, we can do it over 4 weeks versus having to try to figure out how the heck we're going to fit in another weekend of a live course. And it gives people that wonderful flexibility in schedule. So this year we decided to do a webinar again. So the reasons to do a webinar that you charge for, right, like a class, like the one we're doing, is that you get paid for your efforts. Duh. Is that a good advantage? Yeah. The other one is that you'll have serious folks in there, not just people wanting freebies. When you offer a freebie course, it's almost rare to get a good percentage of people live and really engaged and paying attention.
Yeah, I'd say numbers are somewhere around 20 to 30%.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. It's about 20% of the people you get to
sign up. Yeah. And that can be so disheartening, right? You put all this effort into a webinar and you see all these sign-ups happening.
Like 100 people will sign up and you're so excited, and then you get on the live webinar and all of a sudden you look in there people. And there's like 5
people.
10 people.
A couple of them chime in after.
Yeah. So if you want to avoid that, then get charged for it, and you'll get people that are in there that are actively wanting the material that you're covering and will happily pay you for it. Another reason.
Not that any of you have ever subscribed to a free upcoming webinar and never attended it, because I know that hasn't happened.
Yes.
I know, I've never done that.
All right. Another reason to do this is that you can repurpose the material. So an example is when you create a webinar and then you take that material and we had a mentor who called it cannibalizing. I like it. I like to say repurposing. So you repurpose. You create an audio. You create a video download from it. You can have someone write the transcripts of the webinar and then take a chunk of that and make a small ebook that's a freebie. Or you can take all of it and have it a paid ebook that someone can download. Or you can create an article from it, a blog post. The possibilities with this are absolutely endless, and we love repurposing material because, let's face it, we want to have our content, the material that we sit down and we write and we organize and all that, have legs, have a period of time that it can be out there doing all kinds of things to grow our business and to bring us income.
Yeah, if there's only one thing you took out of 2015, it's learning to mini-max. Minimum energy, maximum return.
Yay,
right?
Yeah, like that. Okay.
So what are some of the challenges?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh my God, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this. I'm tapping right now because I'm scared. I've never. So some of the challenges are that you feel tech fear.
Yeah.
Right. You got the tech fears, the tech anxieties. I don't know how to do this. I've never done it. I'm going to screw it up. All that stuff. So you got some of that. Do you have to have some basic technical knowledge? Yeah, you do, because what happens when you're on there and somebody's trying to log on and they can't log on and you're having to multi-purpose and multitask.
You can hire somebody to do this, or you can hire somebody to coach you through the steps of learning it.
God, coaching can be so helpful.
It can be. All right, and then live webinars also have, not only the technical snafus that happen from time to time, like we live on a remote island and the internet went out. Like last week, we had a windstorm, boom, knocked out the internet, and so that happens. And then you might have an emergency in your own life that you have to attend to, and you can't make it.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
It does.
Even to the best of us. We did a webinar for the Ortners, and something happened last minute where we all of a sudden they said, "Oh my gosh, we apologize. The person that was supposed to run the whole thing isn't here, and we just decided to go for it and do it on our own." So
you learn as you go. You know what? There's not anything that you're going to take on that you're not going to have challenges with, and they're all overcomable, and it's really much simpler than you might think.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you put on this webinar, but what is really important is how do you promote it? Right?
Right, because you put all this time and energy into creating slides and visual material and maybe some questions and thought-provoking insights, and boom, you want people there. Mm-hmm. And so how do you promote these webinars? The best place to promote any of your own work is your list.
Yep.
And we won't go over it now, but we've gone over it before, and we certainly spent some time in this MBA program where you build your list. You build those people that are following you. You build your newsletter subscription subscribers. So that list is very important, and people that are part of your list will definitely go to your freebies, and then will after you've established trust with those people, they're likely to buy from you.
And guess what webinars can do in return?
What?
Build your list.
Exactly. So how else do you promote your webinars? You can write a blog post about the material and the content that you're going to be doing. You can use social media outlets like targeted LinkedIn groups, targeted Facebook groups, and that's why all of these things are important, and they're much, much, much easier when you have a very clear niche. There it is again.
Okay. So, good. Okay, so you got to get it out there.
Yeah, you got to get it out there.
Right, and there's a lot of them out there. So I will say again, your niche is important, because if you're just going to the general public, they're getting bombarded through Facebook ads and everything else, a lot of different webinar options. So tighten up your niche. Next, what are some different choices you might want to make with a webinar? What are some things you don't know that you get to choose?
Okay. Choices. Live versus recorded. We talked about that.
Will you charge or won't you? We cover that.
Will you provide the recordings?
So in other words, if you're really going international with it, you're going to have people that it's the middle of the night. You're doing it at 5 p.m. or 11 a.m. or whatever time you're doing it, but somebody in Australia is many hours away, or it's during the night, etc.
So there are advantages of offering the recordings and not. And lately, the strategy that we've been using, which works very well, is to offer the recordings just for a limited period of time. So for the next 24 hours, here's the recording, you can go listen. Because after that, people that really want it will take the time out and they will listen to it. And those that are just kind of fishing around and shopping around and, what will we call somebody that goes from webinar to free webinar to free webinar junkie or something?
Free webinar junkie.
Yeah. So you won't have those people, because you'll either have people listening live or in the short window that you have for the recordings. Those are the serious people. So I recommend doing it that way.
Right, and that's for the freebies, but for the paid ones.
Yeah.
Right, and these are people that are paying for a class. You're obviously going to send them the recording so that they can listen to it at their own timing.
That's right. And on a high-end ticket webinar, like the one where I'm starting very shortly with the manifestation wheel, I'm going to give them the download, the actual recording itself that they can actually have, because I'm charging enough that I feel that that's something that I want to provide.
Well, that's versus what? So
versus just allowing them to view the material later as a recording that sits on my whatever on my page, on the platform. They can't download it and have it forever.
That's an important distinction.
Yes.
Right.
Another choice that you have is, will you provide the transcripts or will you give handouts?
Mm-hmm.
Again, if this is a program that you're offering that you're going to be charging for and you're charging a nice price, then I think the people want that. It's great to over-deliver, to give them more than what they're expecting out of a class. And handouts and transcripts certainly provides a nice way, especially for people that, the visual stuff is okay, but they'd rather have hard copy. They'd rather have something that they can print out and do exercises on and write notes on. People still like that. Old school stuff. Yeah, we like that.
Okay. Ways of interacting.
Yeah.
Are you going to set up so most of the web platforms have the ability to chat?
Right.
Right, so that they can text in questions.
Right.
Okay. You can open up the lines at any time so that speaking can happen.
Oh, you know what we didn't actually talk about, but it's also an option is you can have people send in questions ahead of time.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
Absolutely. How about using surveys or poll questions during the webinar?
Yeah, some of the platforms give you that option. And so yes, there are different platforms, there are different options out there, and it's good to check out several. So how much does all of this cost? Because we keep saying it's inexpensive, but really let's talk about for people that just have no clue.
Well, it depends. Do you want a Kia or a Porsche? So it's going to vary on a variety of things. So, so there are services that are free, and then it goes much beyond that. Depending.
And so I just want to say that with the free ones, most of them have there's some that have really nice options for the freebie, but you will have some ads that show up. And so you may want to think about doing your free ones on these free platforms.
Right. But if you start having higher end,
of course, I wouldn't want any ads on a class that I charge $300 for.
Right. So, and then it's going to vary. For many of the platforms, use, for example, monthly fees.
Right.
And the monthly fee will vary not only on features that are available. Can they have breakout groups? How much material can you go back and forth with? Is there social media blasting capabilities from it?
We even see ones now where they integrate with your PayPal account, so people can pay and completely. You have a landing page, you have a registration page, all of that through the webinar provider. And so it can hold like 20 people and up to 500 people
or 1,000 people. So the cost per month will also vary for most of them, depending on the number of listeners and attendees. So
you have some options that free with ads. You have some options that are $20 a month that don't have ads. Upwards of $99 a month or more for some of these services that have you with the 500 people in there.
500, 1,000, it really varies.
Yep.
So, and they're changing, and new ones are coming up all the time.
Yep, and some integrate with Google Hangouts, and so it's a fascinating world out there of webinars. We hope that we've given you a taste of what that's like, and so Craig, you want to say anything else?
Yeah, just so last quickie thing for anybody that's interested in seeing it being done and interested in the manifestation wheel. That one's starting January 2nd.
Right.
The tapping out of trauma starts February 6th.
Right.
And the first one is 4 classes. The second one is 8 classes. Right.
So wait,
I did that too quick. The manifestation wheel.
It's too early in the morning. I haven't had my coffee. So the manifestation wheel is 4 weeks. So it's 4 classes, and it's not consecutive. But we do have handouts and we do have homework, and there's you can go to is it on our website? How will people find this? So if you type in manifestation wheel and EFT in Google, you'll find us.
Right.
We're the only ones out there doing it combined with EFT. And then, so that starts January 2nd, and then the one that Craig is doing is 8 weeks long, And again, they have fantastic slides. They have wonderful private Facebook group. So you can see like the Rolls Royce of webinars, because these guys have really done a nice job with handouts and the whole process. So that starts February 6th. And CEs are pending for that. For people that this is if you really want to understand the neuroscience of trauma and all the work out there in the world that fits nicely with what you're doing with EFT in the world of trauma. Go check it out, and it's tappingoutoftrauma.com.
It is. And once people want to reach us, what's the best way?
EFTtappingtraining.com.
There you go.
And we'll be starting looking at new applications for the next course of EFT MBA, our 6-month program. So if you want to see that and check it out, EFTMBA.com. All right, until we see you again, remember,
keep on tapping. Keep it up. Have a great day, everybody.
You have been listening to EFT MBA with Alina Frank and Dr. Craig Weiner. To get your free report on the 5 secrets to create a rockin' EFT practice and to learn more about the EFT MBA program, visit www.EFTMBA.com.